I know Sargon talks about it a lot. I'm sure he's not the only one. For all those not praying regularly in the Church of Marxism, it looks like a big question frequently on their minds is, just what the hell is going on in our schools? I read horror stories from my friends with kids all the time. Their little 10-year-old getting lessons about sexual activity and gender. When I was 10, my primary concern was getting my seal not to eat his own poo. It certainly makes our lives more thrilling to presume some truly sinister agenda at play here, to strap on our tinfoil hats and get ready with our weaponized maymays, but I think it's far more mundane in the end, and is more a symptom of our system rather than an end unto itself. See, the first thing you have to ask is, what is a public school teacher exactly? I like to refer to people in that class of workers as practical bureaucrats. Colloquially, I think we usually see a bureaucrat as somebody sliding pencils back and forth on a desk, passing regulations. And sure, plenty of them do that, but there are still many that have to actually go into the field and enforce those regulations. A teacher is one such creature. The next issue of pertinence is, from where do teachers derive their salary? Well, that's answered easily enough. Tax dollars. The state pays teachers. The situation we have in this country and in our states, particularly our large cities, where employees of said government bodies can vote, as everyone can, has created a political strategy at once both pernicious and dominating in its effectiveness. As a politician, you have a degree of control over these people's compensation. Promising them some new benefit during your campaign can be a terrific way to win their support, if not dishonest and fiscally irresponsible. Just ask Mike Madigan. Where this really ties in with Marxism is in the inordinate size of bureaucracy that ideology demands when attempts are made to practically apply it. More and more centralization, more and more government determination, means more and more bureaucrats, which means more and more votes. This is why liberals gravitate toward Marxist ideas. The strategy that Democrats so often employ in this country of appealing to those public workers benefits from adding more and more public labor to the roster. What makes it a particularly ugly situation in the education sector is that we are mandated by law to put our children in front of one of those practical bureaucrats for about 200 days out of the year, every year, for 12 years. I'm not saying here that every teacher does what I'm suggesting. The issue I take is that it even could happen. Just that there exists the possibility that teachers could push Marxist ideas on school-age children, or college-age children, if we're going to be real, in the name of their own personal gain, is terribly distressing to me, as it should be to everyone. I know the knee-jerk, alarmist response to what I'm saying here is to start talking about how crazy it is to suggest doing anything to public education, and how vitally important said institution is. But let's think about it in those terms. If you want to call public education a vital commodity, the situation we have where teachers, really all public workers, can influence what they're going to get paid through the vote ain't too different than if NICOR decided to start charging $75 for every deciliter of methane they sent to your house. There are laws in place to prevent utility providers from abusing the communities they service because they usually have a monopoly there. Do not these school teachers' unions have monopolies of their own? Do we trust the government that much now? I guess I'll never be able to develop any hard proof that this is going on because no politician is ever going to be able to get away with saying, "Vote for me, all you city worker schmucks, and I'll make sure you get a king's ransom and compensation." But when we look at where such workers are best compensated alongside who's been in charge in those places the most, as well as just consider that this strategy isn't too hard to understand or come up with, I think the proof might just be in the pudding. And as for the fanatical professors who call for white genocide, I think we can explain them away too with the simple truth of a fanatic being harder to change the opinion of than a normal person. They know a student they turn into a maniac is that much more likely to vote Democrat that much longer. especially as it becomes more and more apparent that the Democrats' Marxist strategies are failures. You participate in the revolution into a zealot. You encourage it, and once these ideas become their religion, they'll vote Democrat out of desperation, even if they don't believe in everything the politician being supported by the DNC is saying. Look at Shillery. If you look at it this way, it makes these clowns at places like Berkeley and Drexel look all that much more loathsome. In the end, ironically, they preach Marxism out of their capitalistic greed. It'd be delightfully comical if they didn't preach at children.